AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
What's up, Firearms? Hey, can anybody hear me? I'm on the road and signal is going in and out, but I don't hear anything on the podcast on YouTube. So I'm just wondering, is it just me? Hey, can anybody hear me? I'm on the road. And okay. Hey, G-Webs, I think I'm the only one coming through on the show, through the feed. Man, it sounds horrible. Sorry about the road noise, everyone. Just came. I'm on the way back from Cherry Ridge Range. Here we just did a Marine Corps. There you go. Now I can hear you. Cool.
Okay. You can hear the helicopters going by? All right.
All
Sorry
right.
about that. I'm a dumbass. So my microphone was muted right here. And Brooke was asking if I've got the dog like holding cookies or nothing. No, I've got the camera like this far away from his face right here. So, and he thinks I'm talking to him. So he's just looking at me. Between me and him, he thinks we're just having a conversation here. He probably thinks his name is Tony or something. So, anyhow, sorry about that. It was my fault. And I was like, I can hear noises, but I couldn't hear your audio. So it was so weird. Anyway, sorry about I'm not going to say apologize. We do stuff live here, and part of it is the, just the technical difficulties that'll happen even after however many years of doing this stuff. I don't even care. If you have a problem with that, I'm sorry for you. So let's keep going. So we get together on Saturdays. Clover is hanging out at Wanamaker Gun Show this weekend, so he's got no interest in going live. But Tony is driving home. I imagine you just told him from some kind of a Marine situation here.
Yeah, I think it's like New Jersey Historical Arms or Military Arms Society or something. They have shoots every year, multiple. And this was the Marine Corps Heritage Shoot, which happens around Marine Corps birthday every year. This year it happens to fall on Veterans Day. So it was really a lot of fun. And you get, it's like 22 different categories you can compete in. So you come to the range, you bring your firearms, as one or as many as you want, and you can compete in categories per U.S. history. So we have Halls of Montezuma, where you shoot percussion rifles from that era. We have the Battle of Trenton, same thing. So I think Halls of Montezuma, you might have percussion black powder, and Battle of Trenton, you have flintlock black powder, all the way through trapdoor Springfields, 1898 lever actions, on into World War One, World War Two, the Banana Wars, Beirut, no, not Beirut, Way City, which is the Vietnam era. And each category is named after Marine Corps battles. I competed in Marine Corps Special Ops. I competed in Way City and Battle of Fallujah and Marine Corps Sniper. So what I did was I have a M16A4 clone with a 1:8 Opticon, and I was able to compete in 3 of them because it was, optics are able to be used on M4, M16, A2s, A4s, whatever, for 3 of those. And then I used a dissipator, which is Vietnam era. It was developed in the Vietnam era with nothing but iron sights. So I was able to compete in that too. I may have been the only one competing in that. I didn't see any I didn't see anyone running irons only on the AR. So again, a lot of fun, lots of different firearms there, a lot of different builds. Guys had, and you can even compete with ARs and 308 because it falls into the AR-10 category. So a lot of fun, a lot of different guns out there. We didn't shoot each other's guns because it's timed, but it's more fun. There's no,
How many people show
like
up?
I arrived right after 9. It starts at 9 o'clock. It looked like there was about 30, 40 contestants.
Right on.
Because everybody gets an individual table to shoot off of. It's not different firing positions. You can shoot off your bipod or whatever on the table at the range. Real easy shoot. A lot of older people there, so we're not, getting in positions, laying on the floor, going prone or anything. And depending on the event, the black powder events all take place at 50 yards on a B8 target. And if you're not aware of NRA size targets, it's the size of an 8-inch paper plate. That's the size of the entire target. Center, 8, 9, and 10 ring are black. So it's about a 4 circle. That are those numbers, and then it goes up to 5. So everything else is at 100. And I fired at sniper is 1 shot at 100 yards on the target per entry. And you just put forth your best one.
Is there any handgun stuff?
Not this time, because they have a different handgun range, and I guess they just didn't have enough personnel. And I think during the Marine Corps shoot, they don't have handgun, but they have another one. It's not called the Golden Age of Television, but what it is they have categories lined up for handguns from police shows. So, Cagney and Lacey, Dragnet, I think it just, the different things. So you can get revolvers only, you can have snub nose revolvers only, and then semi-automatic handguns. So not this time, but it's coming up. And they have the winter shoot coming up, which allows you to use different guns from various winter wars. The wars that took place in winter, so you can break out your finished Moses. You can take out just different things, including a lot of com block firearms that you might not be able to squeeze into the Marine Corps shoot. Oh, and they also have a war bring back or a war trophy category at the Marine shoot that allows you to bring com block stuff.
So if there's a stage that is for like you say, bolt action or lever action or whatever the category is, like they don't have one sitting there. You're bringing your own.
You're bringing your own.
Oh, okay. I think I misunderstood. I thought they had a bunch of them there. It's sort of like an orientation shoot or something, and then you just shot theirs. Okay.
Man, I wish they had that. I wish they had that, but no, they don't. So we got a lot of guys that just get out there, pretty much historical.
For people, it's like a golf bag. They just bring their golf bag of guns. Like, here's the gun for this stage, the gun for this stage, the gun that I can use on 2 stages or whatever. But they're just bringing a bunch of guns in.
I've drawn mine down a lot, only because one year I came and I had a flat tire, and because of the car, everything was in the trunk. Well, here I am laying out like 7 different rifles in bags, cases on the side of the road so I could get to my spare. That was not a cool look. That was not a good look. Luckily, I'm what you call it. I don't have stickers and things that say gun companies on the side, so it could have been any kind of equipment.
Well, then my second question was going to be, does anybody dress up, or was anybody wearing like the period uniforms?
Not all the way, but some guys, one of the guys actually right next to me had on a 50s era Marine Corps cover and a field jacket. They belonged to his dad, who was in during the Second World War. So he had that older stuff on. And he brought his dad's helmet, I guess, just from the Second World War, just to have something from his dad there as he shot his dad's rifle.
That's cool.
Sometimes,
yeah, that definitely sounds like a cool thing to do on a regular basis.
Yeah, they have like 3 or 4 of these events a year at the range, and it's just fun. It gets you out there.
Well, it gives you a reason to shoot your stuff instead of just collecting it, especially if you got the urge to shoot it. Now you got like a reason, and then it's also, I guess it's a reason where if you are like kind of like, well, I'm on the fence about collecting, is it just to acquire value or is it just to look at it? And if you've got something like that, now you've got something where you can actually take it.
Also, what you have is now you're talking to a circle of people that do collect firearms. Have conversations with them, make friendships, because they have monthly meetings in Kenilworth, New Jersey, of their organization. They have monthly meetings, so you can go there. They also have a YouTube channel. I wish I could figure it out right now, but again, I'm on the road. But they have a YouTube channel, and they videotape their meetings, and they have things like guns.
Well, this is the one that I've seen? This is the one we've talked about before? Okay, yeah. So I've definitely linked to their channel every time they got something good on. But they do like maybe 20-minute videos where they'll like go over a table from one of your meetings.
Yep. It is so worth going to. And they bust my chops because I don't join the organization only because I'm busy. But if I have time to drive an hour and a half to my house after work to go there, I do, because it's really worth it for a geek like me. It's firearms related geek, but you get to see amazing guns. I mean, they did a whole thing on Revolutionary War and guns that were built in Jersey during the Revolutionary War times, and they had to be built by hand. So it was really cool seeing some of that stuff. Which is also
wasn't one of our biggest armories in Jersey, or is it still there?
It's not there now, but I think it was. Yeah, I mean it was in Trenton.
Yeah.
Jersey has managed to run every gun company out of the state, except Henry.
Right. Well, it's their offices, right?
No, they make 22s here.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Well, I thought there was another company because I just think that. Well, I know there's the Throom Targets, I think, right? The green targets.
Yeah, Throom Targets is like 20 minutes away from where I used to stay. Yeah, they're in Edison.
And but I thought there was another gun company, like a small pistol or something, like a CCW pistol that's fairly new. Or maybe
okay, Avidity from Eagle Imports used to be here. They closed up. My friend Modern Materials, they make AR-15s. They're very small though, like a two-man shop. But they get a lot of work done. They make really premium ARs or decent ARs, like DCM level ARs. They're in Keyport, New Jersey, but I'm telling you, man, they just make it uncomfortable to run a business here that has anything to do with firearms. I mean, Colt was founded here.
Exactly.
Which I guess many
Well,
people
you
don't
in
know.
Connecticut, Brooks out there. So Connecticut gets, is the Connecticut, whatever valley, right, is the birthplace of guns in the country.
Yeah, I mean, Colt opened there after he left here in Madison, New Jersey.
Okay, so we're here for Ask Gun Questions, but kind of rambled here in the beginning. Again, sorry for the technical issues, but that's what we get when we're live like this. So Mike had asked earlier, have you ever had Maj on my show, and have I ever done an interview with him? One time I stood next to Maj while we were getting coffee at the Gun Rights Policy Conference in 18, I think, but he was sort of, you could tell he had been kind of talked out, so I didn't bother chatting with him. And I've never, I don't know, I must have been, was he in the rally in 19 in DC?
Yep. He was in,
So
yes.
he was there somewhere, but nobody had introduced us, and I don't walk up to people necessarily. So, again, I'm not gonna, if we were standing next to each other again, like, ordering coffee or waiting in line for the bus, I'd probably chat with them, but there was enough stuff going on at that rally that I didn't walk up to anybody really. I walked up to people I knew and said, hey, but I didn't introduce myself or nothing. And that was the only other time that I think I've ever been, or no, wait, then in 19, he did the event in SHOT Show, right? That was 19. And
2020.
that was 20? Oh, yeah, it was. I keep forgetting that was 20. So Maj did an event for gun shops at SHOT Show to understand new audiences, new customer bases. And he had like a panel of, I forget how many people on the stage. And gun shops could ask questions. And yeah, it was pretty cool. But again, same kind of thing. Everybody was, it was just a lot going on. And I didn't hang out and chat with anybody at that either. So anyway, those are my only times that I've ever been around, and I've never bothered to try to contact them to do a online thing or nothing. But I don't know. So no, I haven't. I'm sure Tony's probably done a million things with Maj.
Yeah, Maj is a great dude. Maj has helped me, give me a lot of advice, had me out. I've gone to his events in Philly. He hasn't come to mind, but I have an actual event planned with him, Kevin Dixie, and myself at Gun for Hire Range when they fully open up, because they're going to have a 100-person meeting room, and that's where we plan on hosting the event at. I mean, this was something I asked them to do in like 2016, maybe, and both of them agreed. So if we could pull this off, I mean, think about how all three of our organizations have grown since then. And,
Gonna do like a Charlie's Angels thing, like on our logo, some kind of cool Charlie's Angels. Who gets the revolver?
Maybe not
somebody with a shotgun.
Maybe not Charlie's Angels, but who knows? And then that's if they still want to pull it off, because I mean, both of them are on another level now. I do my thing locally. I do things in Jersey, a little bigger. We're all bigger than we were then. I don't even know if 100 people would cover it. We probably pack the room easily with those two.
Yeah, but you could do like invite only type of thing. You don't have to necessarily do it with open doors. You can make it an event where people get tickets and reservations and seats or something.
Yeah, who knows what'll happen? But again, Gun for Hire has to finish being built, and when it does, it's going to be the largest indoor range in America. So it's a lot of things coming together.
What still has to be built there?
Upstairs, they have the 100-person meeting room. They have a cigar lounge. They have to finish getting the museum ready. So it's all of that still has to be done.
And is that like contractor time, or is that like just it takes time to build stuff, or or is it
I
just
think
funding or something?
it thinks it's like three different things. It's a personal thing with one of the owners, not Anthony.
Okay, so it's not like it just takes that long in New Jersey. There's something going on. It's taking a little bit longer than normal.
Yeah, there's just all kinds of stuff going on.
Well, it's good to know because I don't keep that much of a track of what's happening, but I know that they're unique as far as indoor ranges in their scope or like what they want to do, and I wasn't sure where they're at on that trajectory or whatever.
Yeah, plus
Part of
it's
it
great.
was being able to fit in that location, like they had to buy this place next door, literally.
Yeah, they literally had to buy the place next door, taking over lots. The parking is ridiculous because they bought a parking lot. I mean, the worse things get, and the more people wake up, the more business a place like Gun for Hire got, because they're 15 minutes outside of Manhattan, and they're near all the population, many of the northern population centers in Jersey.
So we got a question from Woods showing up live here. He says, or he asks to start out, if you could take one class from anyone in the world, who would it be?
Wow.
I've
I
already
mean,
taken a bunch, and I kind of have an idea of what the other ones are. So I haven't pursued some of them because I, haven't been interested. Like I'm not a long range shooter, so that eliminates a bunch of stuff. I'm not really a hunter. That eliminates a bunch of stuff.
see,
But
for me, it's it's just so many interests, and one of them would be trying to figure out how to. I mean, if again, hopefully I'd learn it, but how to put together what I'm doing to the most effectively. You know what I mean? Um, with promotion of this, with raising funds for this, with how everything comes together for what I'm trying to grow, especially the things I want to do in the future. Because not only do I want to do this, I want to actually introduce people to other aspects of firearms ownership, like hunting, like sports shooting. That's why part of the reason I'm doing what I did today, trying to get people out to do that. I'm just trying to grow on a whole bunch of other levels, and other things is my confidence needs to be built up that I can 100% do it, even though everybody else believes in me. I still have a mental block also. But I couldn't give you a name for something like that. I just know that's what something has to get me past this, but I put a date stamp on it. And if by the end of November I haven't done this thing, I'm not going to bring up a charity at all again. Like, I'm just not bringing it up. Either I'm going to make myself do this as a hobby, or I'm going to step into put on big boy pants and make this into something. I'm done. This is the end of patience with my own procrastination.
well, I hear what you're saying. It's always difficult with circumstances and uncertain futures or whatever. Not
Well,
all kinds of.
Amanda Suffolk told me, you've done this work for 8 years. This is your baby. Everybody knows your name is on it, but you haven't gone official. That's like taking your kid out into the world and you're worried everybody's going to go, man, that baby's ugly. And I think part of her is right. But anyway, that's me in the hang up with 2A4E. As far as firearms related classes go, like somebody like Clint Smith, Thunder Ranch, take maybe a carbine or a handgun course with him. Maybe, what's his name? Mas Ayub. Like some of the classic dudes that, aren't going to be around because all of them are older. And Mas Ayub has the 40 class. The class that takes a week. It includes a lot of educational things and also range time.
Yeah, a Mag 40 is an experience. Like the 80, I think, is the one that takes even. Well, the 40 is like the hours, I think. So
Yeah,
they definitely take some time. But all right,
that's it. Mag 40, Mag 80. I even think there's one after that, but they only do it once a year.
yeah, exactly. Or I think that's to be like an instructor or something.
Yeah, so I'd like to take that because I think that's a lot of information. Again, because using a firearm is more than just pulling the trigger. And if I'm going to get that one free pass, you know what I mean? I want to use something to be just more well-rounded as a firearms instructor and somebody introduces me to firearms. And also someone who defends himself for one.
So it's a tough one for anyone in the world. This makes it interesting, but look at I was going towards what Tony was going towards at the originally there too. Like I'd like to see if not so much a class. I've been to a lot of classes and I've been interested enough so that I understand what the classes that I haven't been to. I know what they're about, at least up to a point. At some point, I quit paying attention. So new people have come to the scene and they bring different focus or they bring different skill sets to the mix or whatever. But aside from the details that I don't know, I understand with the realm of firearms instructors for the most part. But what I'd rather see is an advocacy class or an advocacy. I'm going to mute Tony for a second. The road noise is just getting really loud. I'm just going to mute you for a second.
Okay.
So I would think an advocacy class or a seminar type of thing. So essentially what KD does with Train and Learn brings together instructors and industry and media content creators of all different types and brings everybody together at a ridiculously low cost and gives them an immersive experience where you're there from like Friday night till Sunday and you are encouraged to spend the time with everyone. You're not just there to observe and to take notes, but it's an elaborate thing with a lot of moving pieces. And over the years, it's worked well to integrate the pieces, right? The industry, the training, and the media, and then to give people relationships, like give them collaborative and work in relationships. So I like that whole concept, except I would pull out the firearms instructors and I would put in advocates. So now and this is kind of what they got going in the Ambassador Academy a little bit. But again, pull out industry because industry is useless and put in advocacy and bring the people who know what they're doing. Robin and Diana and Brooke and Gabby and Cheryl Todd, bring those kind of people together. Michael's from San Diego Gun Owners, probably people from Goal, Toby for sure, from Cape Gunworks, and bring those people together, put them in a forum type of thing where they can be comfortable, not on a fucking stage where they're like on display and they're fucking uncomfortable, but like sitting behind a table like humans and like, make them comfortable. And we're going to be here and then have an audience in person and on the live because everybody's comfortable with that shit, and have a 3-day something session. And instead of going shooting, get up and do something else. Get up and go door to door. Get up and go do something. Get up and do something every once in a while so that it's not butt numbing, but essentially some sort of 3-day thing where everybody gets together, totally funded so that nobody's even like concerned about being there, financially. And everybody's family's happy because maybe they're being taken care of with some entertainment nearby, some kind of a attraction that can keep the families entertained. So nobody's even stressed out, so with their families being there, and then let true activism happen. and like let the NSSF be there with open ears and shut the fuck up. Let the NRA again like learn something, and maybe have Jeff there, Jeff Knox, and have true people who've done advocacy work, and then have people ask questions and enable people so that the industry can sit there again and not say a word, but listen and open up their wallets and start pouring money on the people who would learn from that and are going to like be incubated by that. Right. That's what I think the best training would be. And that would create awareness. It would normalize guns, and the industry would figure out that by normalizing funding, the normalization of guns, instead of the exploitation of division, that they're going to succeed way beyond anything they could have done by calling something tactical, painting it pink, or saying about how the sky's falling, how the war is going to happen, or the ammo's out of, we're almost out of ammo, or any of that bullshit. And if none of that's possible, maybe something with 3D printing and AI. But I'd somehow add that to the panel.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, and I also want to say something real quick about Train and Learn. Train and Learn has a lot of the things that I said I need to kick me in my butt. This year, they were doing a lot of how to grow your audience kind of thing. So I've been using pieces of that. If you saw my social media change a little bit or get tweaked, that was because of Train and Learn. The year before, when they had Jared Hutchins and a couple of other guys doing the classes, I was one of the speakers. So I didn't get to be a part of others' classes because I was presenting myself. So that kind of sucked. But it was really great being a presenter at Train and Learn.
But since that's sort of theoretical, my answer is theoretical and fantasy, even though the national level organizations bring in tens of millions of dollars, and without even thinking about it, they could like remove a couple of ads from piece of paper advertising, magazines or, whatever publications that they're still, wasting paper to put out there, and they could totally fund that. But actual instructors, Masad Ayub is again very immersive, I think is the way to say it. He's been an instructor a long enough time, and he's got enough authority in the subject matter, and he's able to, as a human, he's able to get it across. He's a great instructor. So if Moss was teaching you how to paint, or if Moss was teaching you how to gunsmith, or if Moss was teaching you how to mow the lawn, I mean, you'd enjoy it. Like, he would get the information across in a great way, and it's clever. So he's drinking from a fire hose, but he's drinking from a fire hose with a funnel, so that it's consumable. He does things in a way, for example, he'll encourage you, almost, he doesn't require it, but he encourages you to take notes because you're going to get so much information. And he offers information he offers some education on how to take those notes and what to do with those notes to make them as beneficial as possible. And once you see that, other instructors do that, but very few. Maybe nowadays people have learned from that, but when you understand that, you learn that, you take that to other classes. I have a notebook, a spiral notebook from every class I've ever attended with all the notes I've taken, and I take them in a hybrid way of all the different ways I've learned to take notes over the years. It's just an interesting way. So you don't have to try to remember everything, but you can retain everything, if that makes sense. So Moss has a great way of getting the classroom stuff across, and his classroom stuff is insightful and in elaborate, in a way that isn't just taking up your time. It's drinking from a fire hose with valid information, and it's not minute details you never need to worry about. It's just generalities with a few examples that let you understand all the things that you don't understand, if that makes sense. Like, anybody can come up and say, here's everything you need to know about, and then, fill in the blank. But in reality, they're only going to give you the tip of the iceberg. They only could, right? So Moss is just showing you, like, here's what I'm going to tell you. And here you can see from the shadow how much is beyond this. So understand what you don't understand yet, but here's a bunch to get you started. And here's enough to get you by. But be aware that there's this deep end of the pool, and you're only swimming in the kiddie pool right now. And that awareness is something that most instructors don't bother with. and the way he is able to bring that across, it's very comforting to know where you're at in the big picture. And so, like I say, Moss is and then he also, it's like Tony's saying, it's half and half. You're half in the class, and well, you can take just instructor only classes or classroom instruction only classes, but if you take the full class and you're doing the range also, it's broken up so that you're only doing one or the other for like a couple of hours at a time. So physically, it's not as demanding. Again, you're not butt numbing just doing instruction for 3 days and then stressed out doing physical activity for 3 days. It's mixed throughout. So just when you're getting bored of the lectures, boom, you're out on the range. And, in that physical whatnot gets you all blood flowing and whatever to sit down to more lectures, and you're, tired from the range. So it works out really well. And very few instructors that I'm aware of go to all that trouble to do all that. And Moss has been doing it for so long that, it's just like having, somebody who is an expert who knows what they're doing. A master sits down and makes it look easy, when in reality, it's such a complex dance that's happening that you don't even realize.
Yeah. One of the things I've taken away from these classes is taking notes, and use your phone. Record them if they allow you to, only because there's going to be a lot of information coming at you. And the crazy thing is, you don't know everything, and you're going to miss stuff. And if you just drop a few $100s on a class, I don't want to miss anything. Or at least I want to have the opportunity to go back and listen to something and figure it out, hear it again and again. Because there's a lot of information that gets passed down during training learn. And really, I'm like, could somebody record this? And heck, I'll even pay for it if you format it, $10-20 for DVDs for people that were there. I mean, not a DVD, but you know what I'm saying. Something you can download and listen to. Because there was so much stuff going on. Plus, you're hanging out with people who are in the same industry. I guess as an instructor, I want people to take notes. I want people to ask questions. I want them to be able to go back over this stuff. I give you the best I can when I'm in front of a room. And when when I'm doing the training classes, I give you the best I can. And I want you to be able to listen to it again and again. And if it's your first time shooting a gun, if your first time taking class, you're going to be distracted by some things too. Especially if you're thinking of a question or you're thinking of an answer someone else gave, because to me as an instructor, having other people talk to you about their own experiences can open doors that can help everybody in the room. And you shouldn't miss out on that because you're just trying to hear it. And I think a lot of people think you go into a firearms related class about self-defense or armed self-defense, and all you talk about is pulling triggers. That's not true, or at least not the way I've set up our classes. Because usually I'm thinking in the state of New Jersey, or in a state like this, when you're taking a handgun class or when you're taking a rifle class, we ask why you're taking a class and what aspect you're going to use that firearm. And if it's self-defense, I just look at it like you might have an incident tomorrow or tonight. And I want to give you as much life-saving info as I can in that class, even if it's NRA First Steps rifle class. If you've taken it to use that firearm in a self-defense manner and you got the gun with you. You know what I mean? Because you never know. I mean, that's what happened, in Training Learn in 2019, the very first Training Learn. One of the students got into a gunfight within 8 hours of leaving Training Learn.
Yeah, he went home and then essentially got jumped in the.
Mm-hmm. He was walking. He was walking his 5-year-old son to his girlfriend's house, and a guy decided to open fire on him for no reason. And the guy is on FaceTime doing it, ranting and raving, and just pulls out a gun and says, "I'm going to shoot the next person that walks down this alley." And he picked the wrong dude. He picked the guy that fired about 1,500 rounds over a 3-day period and took his training seriously. And Mr. Bad Victim Selection took second place in a gunfight in Chicago.
Oh, I thought it was Wisconsin.
Yep, it was Chicago.
Well, I was about to say that, there's, when you talk about firearms training, I don't know, since we're kind of just talking about firearms training, and I talked about Masada Ayub because he was brought up, but there's a spectrum for sure. And when firearms training can be marksmanship, like how to be better at getting, your physical, autonomic, whatever it is, your skeletal, alignment, all the things that are necessary to hold a gun and to pull the trigger and to have your breathing and to understand sight picture and then understand ballistics and trajectory. There's those kind of classes, like how to physically hold the gun and shoot the gun well and accurately, consistently. Then there's classes on how to draw and how to present a gun and how to get a gun out and when, how to when to reload and how to reload and cover and move into cover. Like those are two separate things completely, both involved with defensive use of a gun for sure. And then you get when to pull a gun, legally when, strategically when, what to do, what to say before and after. You've got people with you, what to do about that before and after. Those are, again, completely different kinds of things. And while some people are experts in one or two of those things, or who've heard of all the different things, then you get into, well, I do it, let's just say left-handed, right-handed, I do it red or blue. Like there's all these different nuances, different ways to do it, different approaches. I always like to use the analogy of people in the Navy hold their guns muzzle up because they got boats underneath of them. They're never going to do Sewell or pushing the muzzle down because they got a boat underneath of them. And people in the Army got a helicopter motor above them. They're never going to hold their barrels up. You push them down right through the floor of the helicopter. So, and most of the time helicopters are so big, bulletproof belly, so you're just going to shoot into nothing. But, again, neither one is right or wrong, but at the time, they're right or wrong, right? So it's not always that black or white or that up or down, but the instructors think of things that way. And the best instructors understand all of it, or at least, and then can bring it appropriately. But some of them are just stuck and, they see it this way. You're always holding it muzzle down, whatever. They're going to be like, okay, in a helicopter, in a boat, you're going to move it to the left a little bit, or, put them, don't load them, whatever. They're going to have some other reason, but they're always going to go back to holding the muzzle down. And there's not too many of those. But the thing is, there's so many instructors now. There used to be a few, and then there was a couple. Then there was a bunch, and then it slimmed down because there was less interest. And then CCW took off, and there's no way to know how many instructors there are, let alone what flavors and what, it's just like martial arts or something. Are they teaching judo? Are they teaching karate? Are they teaching taekwondo? None of them are right or wrong. A good instructor that can kick is probably going to be an advocate of a kicking one, right? So a person who can draw and shoot is probably going to teach that stuff really well. A person who's more brainiac is probably going to think about more of the legal stuff and, when to, and he's going to have a theoretical, like discussion type of classroom class. None of them are right or wrong, but they all have these different pieces. So when people say instructors or training, who knows what people have in their head of what they have in mind when they say training. And then every other person has something else going on in their head when you hear firearms training, right? So I think it's a pretty difficult topic to come up with unless you start to either get really broad or focus in, because otherwise I don't think you do it justice, because you end up you have a discussion and you're just crossing paths. Somebody's thinking of a tactical guy doing judo rules or roles like the comedy stuff that happens out there, and then somebody else is thinking about somebody who's been some kind of high-end operator, and then somebody else is thinking about an instructor who is a cop, and somebody else is thinking about an instructor who's a drill sergeant. Which of them are wrong? But they're not the same. Like none of those are going to teach a class the same way. Someone who's never done any of those things still has a right to teach a class and still teaches stuff, and they're not right or wrong either, but they're teaching the class differently. Somebody who's teaching a class for new people is going to teach a class differently than somebody who's teaching a class for somebody who's been there and done that. Neither one of them are wrong, but it's not like refrigerator repair where there's one way to fix a refrigerator the right way or some other way. And, it's just whoever you're going to call is going to come up with a price. I think people think firearms instructor sometimes, or firearms instruction is something like getting a refrigerator repair. Sometimes you get somebody who knows what they're doing, sometimes you don't, but there's only one way to fix a refrigerator. I think there's more to it than that. And it's hard for me to summarize because I think about all that stuff whenever I start thinking about it.
It's true, because I think a lot of us assume, and I mean, I do it sometimes too. I mean, I do it too. Everybody does. But when it comes to things like firearms instructor, it's like, what does that mean? It's like driving instructor. Oh, I don't need a driving instructor. I know how to drive. I got my driver's license. No, it's not that kind of driving instructor. This is evasive driving. This is defensive driving. Those are two totally different things. And same thing with the friggin' gun thing. Because I'm thinking about the classes I've taken. And then it's what level are you at in that particular discipline?
That's a good point too.
Yeah, I've had introductory competition shooting class, and it was good. But when I went to do actual shooting a competition, it was even more difficult than the class. And then I've taken it from national level shooters, and it was a totally different class. But the shooter was national level, but the people taking a class, some had never even shot a gun more than a couple of times. So what is his instruction gonna be like? I just think a lot of people don't want to take classes because they're turned off by some aspect of it. And I think really, because I just read, I think it was Mike, he said a lot of people you see on YouTube, he's turned off by them. Don't go by those people. Don't go by those people. I think a good first step for anybody is to get a local instructor, somebody close by, somebody that, one, you don't have to stay over in a hotel. It's not a multiple day class. It could be a short class, 2 to 3 hours. I mean, or even a 4-hour class, but at least it's not going to be exorbitant. Because I think that's one of the problems too. When you look at these classes, it's like, oh, it's a 2-day class for $750 plus, 1,000 rounds of ammo, plus it's 4 hours away from your house. That's vacation type money. I'm like, but how's this one for $200, $250? You got a 1-day class, starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, goes until 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but you get a lot out of it. And again, it's local. It's not a special forces dude teaching you some stuff that really, as a citizen, as an armed civilian, you're never going to use. Because what I found is most of those guys, it ends up being a lot of war stories packed in between stuff that has no application to what you do.
So I'm gonna move on since we've been chatting about that for a while. But yeah, question. Hopefully, you enjoyed the answer there. But the next one, I'm gonna go backwards in the list from the database. And the next one is from Woods. He's saying, is self-defense ammo really worth it? Or is it just a better lure? Is there any real data coming from citizen defense use that ammo choice ever really mattered?
Oh, ammo choice definitely matters. And especially if we're going to compare it to training ammo.
Or, regular, like, playing around ammo, like ammo that doesn't matter.
Yeah, your full metal jacket ammo that's designed for you to train at the range doesn't have the same quality control, doesn't have the same quality control. They don't have the same, many times, materials that it's made out of. Plus, it's the technology that goes into making sure hollow points expand reliably and expand reliably in the different barrel lengths that you're using it in. Like, all of that has advanced a whole heck of a lot since I've been a kid, when pretty much all you had was lead bullets that were not semi-wad cutters, semi-jacketed hollow points that were just lead bullets sticking out of the end of maybe a little piece of brass or copper. So definitely makes a difference. Some of the stuff is a bunch of, just like anything else, it's commercials. But yes, the stuff that pretty much is adopted by by the FBI. Let's go ahead and put the FBI, because they have their standards that they go by, the expansion they expect, and the results they expect. That's what you should go with, not the latest whatever that some YouTuber who gets a check told you was great because it expanded in gel under certain conditions.
And here's my coupon code.
Yeah, and here's my coupon code so you can get a discount and not get paid. But yeah, going with the FBI is what a lot of law enforcement agencies across the country do, because they don't have the money to run an FBI lab and find out what meets these specifications, but the federal government does. So that would be a good place to look and start. What is it? Federal HST, old school is Golden Saber. Those kind of things were pretty much what you can go with.
Yeah, unless something's changed, my understanding is the premium you're paying for that ammo is pretty much always been that you're getting, like you said, more quality control. Like they're paying attention to every round instead of 10, 100 rounds at a time. I'm sure everybody has seen videos of the inspections at a bullet factory, ammunition plant, and it's a person who has a shit ton of ammo in front of them, and they pick them up, like a block of 100 or whatever's in there, probably 10 by 10, maybe 25 by 25. I don't know. It depends on the ammo and how much attention they got to pay to it. But essentially, they're just checking it for if it's headspace. They're all in a big metal thing sitting there, and if one of them is wrong, they can see it, right? So if they're all the same, okay, good, it moves on. That's probably the difference between a human doing it and a laser doing it, right? Or a robot picking up one that's just a little bit off because maybe that has 2 pieces of grain more stuff in it somehow or something. I don't know. So I think that's probably the big difference is the quality control. They pay more attention to smaller numbers instead of, lots. And then the materials for sure. Like the primer is going to be more reliable and probably a bit more powerful, I'm guessing. But I guess probably depends on the recipe. But then from what I understand, the powders are going to not just be different, but they're going to be more rugged, because they're anticipating it's going to be carried around, or it's going to be, in transit way up more often, shaking around in your belt or on your wherever in your bag than shelf ammo that's just sitting there on a shelf, gets, just pretty much sitting stagnant all the time until it gets shot. And then the material of the bullet, right, like the quality of it and all that is probably a higher quality. Probably the cases too are new instead of being shot once before. So yeah, I think there is, but then at the same time, that being said, if you really want to get into it, I think it's like buying gasoline or oil for your car or something else, like food for your dog or something. Unless you're a person who likes to try new things constantly and you somehow see a benefit in changing all the time or spending all your time researching it, essentially go do whatever level of research you're going to do. But maybe take a look at the top 5 brands and see what primer they're all using. And if they're all using the same primer, it's pretty obvious that's the primer you want to go with. If they're using 2 or 3 different primers, now they're on your radar. Take a look at their projectiles. No ammo is being made, very few pieces of ammo are being made by the actual companies. So aside from the actual companies making their own ammo, all the other brands are just, what am I trying to say? Components that are put together. So go take a look at the components that you would desire, and then go find the ammo that uses those components in the combination that you want at the price point you want. And you may find that there is a bulk place that takes, pretty much what you're looking for in design and material, and then puts it together in bulk, and they can undershoot even the big places who have to, like Hornady or somebody, they're making 22, they're making 357, they're making 45. They can't just pump out 9mm all year and have it the cheapest possible, but somebody is, right? Somebody's kicking out 45 the cheapest possible because they're just tooled up to do just that, and that's what they're going to do, corner the market on cheap 45 or the best 45 or the most pointy 45, whatever. So you can seek it out, and then as long as that company's around, you can just keep buying that ammo. And unless something changes with the way people are built, you figured out the best ammo. There might be a better ammo that comes along, but honestly, who cares? It's how much better can it possibly be? So figure out what it is you're looking for, acquire it, And then every time you go to a gun show, buy a couple of boxes. Every time you go to a gun shop, buy a couple of boxes. And at some point, you won't have to have these discussions with people who just started getting into guns.
The other thing about getting ammo that's already been tested by large federal agencies or agencies, and I say large agencies because really that's who's going to have the finances to test stuff like that. So we're talking like LAPD, New York Police Department, or FBI. What you get is a track record of that ammo, and they know how that ammo performs in the human body. If you start getting things from what they call boutique ammo makers, because you wanted to get another 15-20% muzzle energy out of it, and I'm not going to throw anybody under a bus, I'm just saying they make much smaller lots of this ammo, and when it comes to testing, it may test differently because it's a 10 millimeter, 180 grain moving in 1900 feet per second. And that's a heck of a lot of friggin' whatever heat on that one. And the projectile itself might not be designed to move at that speed because they're using some of the same projectiles from other companies like HST, like Hornady, or whatever. You can see it. You know which projectile they're using, and it might not react a certain way to the human body. Now, when they're testing it or checking it, or they pull the projectile out of the person you shot, it might not go with your story about what they're used to seeing because it's so much more powerful than what they're used to seeing. That was one of the things. I think it was Moss. One of the things I got from listening to Moss was about buying self-defense ammo from boutique manufacturers, because the larger manufacturers keep lots of a sample of lots of everything they sell, self-defense ammo, so it can be tested by either independent organizations or by the police to see if the results are the same as what happened with that bullet you put in that person. That's some of those little things you get to pick up when you follow others and you pay attention to what they say, because I want to be able to give people more rounded explanations on stuff if they want a deep dive. But definitely look for other people. Oh, and the thing about instructor, never just go to one guy and be a fanboy of that one person. Go to a lot of different people and learn as much as you can about it.
Yeah, it's actually an interest. I think you can use that to determine the validity of an instructor. If they allow that to happen, then they're bullshit. There's some kind of weird cult thing, or there's some kind of trying to be famous or trying to be a celebrity. Because a person who doesn't want none of that shit, doesn't need any of that shit, doesn't allow that shit to happen.
Good Lord. I totally encourage you to go. Anybody. I want to teach people the basics. I want to introduce them to this thing in a safe manner and have them have very good fundamentals. Now, if you want to learn how to Hondo roll into a room, you're definitely going to have to go to somebody else, because I've only done that by accident.
That's a good point. I've rolled around on the ground with a gun, but that was when I fell over in a force-on-force class.
Yeah, believe me, it wasn't on purpose. So definitely, and I really think it'll be a fun experience if you take your time and get a decent instructor. I've fallen into really good instructors and local instructors, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And as far as getting ammo, you don't have to practice. You need to learn where your self-defense ammo hits, but you don't have to dump a gang of money into it. Like I've heard people say, oh, you have to fire at least 200 rounds of your self-defense ammo before you know it works in your gun. I'm like, who paying for that? I'm sorry, I don't buy into that at all.
Well, that comes from a while ago, and ammo was cheaper, and guns were not the same as they are today, technically. People were fitting them, or machines weren't as fancy, or I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about
to it, but back in the day, we would want to. Well, back in the olden days, they would want to. What do they call that?
Break-in period.
Yeah, like a break-in where the parts would mate, right? Like the parts would all like wear together and figure out
Hmm.
like pins would get aligned. Because if you've got a hole just a little bit off one side of the frame to the other, a pin goes through there and something pivots on that pin and it matters, like a hammer, I don't know, whatever would matter. Then it's going to take a little time for that pin to kind of get itself kind of, I don't know what to call it, like wiggled in. It's going to move a little bit. It's all metal, but it's all going to move a little bit over time. So that 500 rounds allows all that to like happen, all the wear surfaces to get smooth, the paint to wear away where it's going to wear away. And now you know how that gun's going to work. But back in the day, they wouldn't even gunsmith your gun. They'd look at your gun and be like, "You haven't even shot this thing. Like, I'm a gunsmith. What do you want me to here? I'm going to gunsmith it, but 500 rounds through it. Figure out what's wrong with it."
Yeah, that used to be a lot, especially in the custom gun market. It was like, yeah, you need 500 rounds of break-in and use X number of rounds of whatever your defensive ammo. Well, we're not there anymore. We're in a world of polymer and better tolerances, but not super tight tolerances.
Yeah, robots build everything, and humans just move the stuff from one robot pile to the next robot pile. Like nothing's wrong anymore. Guns are all the same. So they use, like literally interchangeable parts, not just in theory. Where are we at with? We're about an hour in. Where are you at with time? Do we do more or hang it up?
It's up to you, man. I pulled over just so the road noise wouldn't be so bad, so I'm hanging out in the parking lot of Wawa.
All right. Well, we got other ones. There are people here, so we'll do another one at least. So the next one is this one could be controversial, so that's why I took a break before we did it. Gun from Woods. Shotguns for home defense, yay or nay, and why? Clover's not here to defend them. You don't have to feel any kind of shame. Whatever your answer is, it's Clover free.
I think shotguns are great for home defense for a few reasons. Now, I think there's some negatives too, but I don't think they're as big a deal as people say they are. One, very effective. The 12 and 20 gauge are very effective at home defense distances, especially with the right load. So, buckshot, awesome sauce. And you can go to the different buckshot double lot. What was it? What's the number 4 buck? Is also a good one because those are like 26 or 27 to 28 caliber.
Before is what we use for like rabbit and I guess, rabbit, stuff that you didn't want to be picking little tiny bird pellets out of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because one of the things I learned about that was one of the law enforcement agencies said they use that because when they use double-aught buck at distance, they create a lot of gaps, and you could possibly still miss somebody at that distance. But yeah, shotguns, I think they're great for home defense. They're usually less expensive than almost any other options, but now the ARs are like $400, but still a $400 AR-15 may have questionable QC and build quality compared to a $400 or $500 shotgun. $400, $500 shotgun gives you a Mossberg or a Remington that has a track record and a long track record of quality builds. I wouldn't say the same thing about an AR at that same cost. Those for pump action. Also, shotguns are less likely to turn a jury of your peers into raving anti-gun freakazoids, because you still have to win the fight after the fight if it goes to court. And having a pump shotgun with maybe a side saddle and a flashlight on it doesn't look the same as having an AR with a light mount, a red dot, adjustable stock, and all the evil features that they try to paint you as, especially if prosecution or the news media or whatever wants to make political points, as you saw them try to do with the Kyle Rittenhouse and tried to villainize the firearm that he used. So I think those are some of the advantages of a shotgun. Some of the cons of a shotgun, people say, you can short stroke it. Well, that's learning to use the firearm and be efficient with whatever firearm you use. And one of the advantages of a shotgun is You can take that shotgun clay shooting and pop clays all day and learn to work the action quickly and hit a moving target for a fraction of the cost. You can take an AR out and run it. And I don't know many things outside of competition that you can shoot a moving target with an AR-15 as a sport.
Nah, you'd have to have somebody's property or some sort of there's some tactical games or something where maybe there's a moving target, but rarely can you shoot at a moving target with a rifle at a range.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, those are the advantages in my mind of a shotgun. Practice ammo, things like birdshot, heck of a lot cheaper with a shotgun. Intimidation factor, let's go ahead. Some people will and some people won't be intimidated by the firearm. Do I think the people that chased Kyle Rittenhouse around would have changed their mind if he had a 12-gauge boomstick? Don't know. That's a big hole to look down now.
Well, now you want it both ways. Now everybody in court's going to be like, "Oh, shucks, it's just a shotgun," but everybody in the street's going to be like, "Oh no, it's a shotgun." That's
well, people in court going to be looking at it from the side. People in the street going to be looking at the barrel first.
I've just seen something about like eagles and hawks from the side, all majestic and look like they're looking towards the future or whatever with an ambition. You look at them from the front and they look like
predators.
Well, they look like cross-eyed clowns because their eyes are set and they look straight ahead. So when you look at them straight on, you don't see their beak. It just looks like a chicken beak, and then they got these big eyes. So they kind of. I mean, you don't want to be there, like you say. Like it's like looking down the barrel of something. If you're the rodent at the end of that, you don't want to see that. But from as far as our perspective, they look so majestic from the side, and from the front, they just look like a pigeon or something.
That's funny.
But anyway, so I didn't want to cut you off if you still were going on it.
Yeah, I was just going over. I mean, they asked the question, so I'm going from the top of my head, pros and cons. I suggest either, but in a state like New Jersey, I think a shotgun will help you on the back end more. Again, because I know there are politically motivated prosecutors in this state that have the blessing of the governor himself and the attorney general. That shouldn't make a difference in your decision, but it can and it does, as we've seen. When people have villainized the firearm. In Arizona, they made a big deal about the guy that shot someone with a 10 millimeter because the gun was so powerful, so much more powerful, which it isn't, but that was politics speaking again.
But to be fair, that was a precedent setting. That was like the first time someone tried that. And I don't know if say the last time, but that definitely gets brought up a lot. that was like in the 80s or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying it hasn't happened since because I don't know. But I'm just saying that's the first one everybody hears about.
Yeah, I just want to try to use that as a thing that actually happened. The thing that actually happened as a warning. That's all.
Well, so I'm the other side. I don't like shotguns. I used to like them a little bit, and I like them less and less. Their fun is going out and shooting moving targets, like you're saying, shooting trap and 5-stand. Different things is fun. I guess if you like hunting with them. I don't like eating birds, and I don't like eating squirrels, so I don't like hunting with them that much. I understand it, though. I mean, I certainly have hunted with them. I get it. But it's just not my thing anymore. But I just don't like a lot of things about them. One, every round, one way to look at it is every round is a lawsuit, or every projectile is a lawsuit. So depending on what you shoot and where and the distance, there's unknowns there, variables. So potentially a lawsuit, every one of those pellets that doesn't hit what you want it to. But everybody's always like, oh yeah, they're perfect because of the spread. And I'm like, and this is happening in your living room and like in front of your TV, in front of your good china. Like this is all happening in your house. So you're missing everything that misses is hitting something in your house. And what are you doing to your living room with that guy? Like that person who broke in is now got shotgun all around them. And like people doing this. You ever seen The Mist in TV shows? I'm not saying it's like that, but you're making a pretty big mess in your house. It's going to work, but come on, you're better than that. You don't need a color, the baby set. You're in your house. So for me, and then the other thing is, okay, so that's one. Now, if it's a little old lady and she needs the help person who's injured, or you just get up groggy, you're allowed to do that. It's legal, right? You don't have to be sharp as soon as you wake up. For whatever reason. So I also think people are going to grab it. I don't like long guns, period, but for home defense. But people are going to potentially grab it, and I don't believe the hot barrel, because who knows if they got gloves on or they just don't care. But if they're cracked up on the PCP or whatever, so with fentanyl, they don't peel their hands, I'm sure. So they don't care at all, and they're going to definitely take that and beat the crap out of you with it, or worse. So I don't like that aspect of it. But that's just all long guns. I mean, I'm not grabbing a lever action either necessarily. But and then if you do have to go outside, then a shotgun is really limiting. And I don't disagree with you on the trial part, like for sure. And if you had to go outside, you're just somebody with a gun, which is essentially with a broom. It's the problem is you're essentially somebody with a broom, because it's I'm going to shake my shotgun over my head, which is about as effective as you're going to be. Even if you're good at hitting stuff, you're not going to do any damage. So if you're everybody's like, oh, the bad guy got scared and ran away. Well, what if the bad guy grabbed somebody and is running away? Like, I want to disable their hips. You know what I mean? But if they took something that's important and they go do some damage with it, right? One of your other guns, you got to take out their pelvis, right? Or if not their spine or something, like take them down. They're about to do damage with something they just took from you. I look at the ultimate worst case, but not like the guys running with this. I give up into the police waiting, and I'm out there with my shotgun with news crew. The other side of it, the news crew, and how are we going to normalize ARs if we don't use ARs? Rooftop Koreans and all that. Like, we're allowed to use ARs to defend ourselves. And I'm not saying you have to be the miter, whatever. But that's my thing. And then the other last one is, just to not be a dick about it, but I listened to a really interesting perspective on this from Ed's Manifesto, where he had a conversation with D. Moliere the other day. And he said, think about gang violence. How come that has gone almost away in the last years? And that's because cartels have moved in such a way that they basically took over everything at this point, to the point where they're like, quit fighting each other. We make more money when you don't. And they quit fighting each other. So if you do get something going on in the streets, it's probably going to be cartels fighting with each other, or crazy riots. I'm not as scared of riots, but because that's not that I'm not as scared of riots. I just think that's overplayed. That's they're trying to magnify that way out of perspective to create fear. But if you're afraid of something that's more than just one bad guy who's a hick and who runs away with a white surrender flag, and you're really worried about bad guys, well, I'm worried about gangs of bad guys roaming the neighborhood or having a shootout down the street. And I'm walking out there with something with a 30-round magazine and other 30-round magazines, right? And I don't care if it's overkill. Like, that's what we should be defending ourselves with, not with shotguns. Bad guys shouldn't think that they can roll up with a bigger stick, not to our homes. So I guess that's a little bit of theoretical too. And it's probably different when I'm 100 miles with the international border with Mexico, that the Mexican government doesn't own the northern border of their country, than in a city where it's unheard of to have an AR-15, let alone defend your home with it. So I know it's different everywhere. I'm just saying, I just don't. And then shotgun shells are so huge, to carry 30 shotgun shells around. Maybe it's not the heaviest thing in the world, but it's a bag. You need a purse to do it,
Well, I mean, listen, to be fair, you said home defense, so you're not carrying it around anything but your house. And
I'm still bringing at least 10, 15 rounds of shotgun shells.
Man, if you have 15 rounds of shotgun shells in your home defense scenario, that crap's going to be on the news.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, like one of those slings that has a bunch of rounds in it. Or
I got my Yeah, I got the neoprene thing on the shoulder with another 5 or 6 rounds plus what's in the gun. And I pretty much feel if you're doing a reload in a home defense scenario, I don't know about any that's happened that you actually have to do a reload in. Like,
no, I hear you. I know realistically, but I think of worst case scenario and then some. So it doesn't cost nothing to have that sling on there with 15 rounds or whatever.
Now, the other thing about 30-round magazines, you had to live in a place you can have 30-round magazines legally. We're stuck with 10.
Sure.
we're
Yeah,
stuck
and
with
if you've
10
got
here.
a hobbled AR where you can't even change mags, totally. What's the point of that? That's ridiculous. Yeah, that my stuff doesn't apply there at all.
Yeah, so my whole thing is I deal with what I deal with here because a lot of people don't think about, I think it's like, what, 5, 6 states that are limited to 10-round magazines. I'm one of them. They're limited to, like you said, hobbled ARs. Well, that knocks down the whole difference between owning an AR and owning a shotgun too. What's the difference between 10 AR rounds and a shotgun that holds 6 or 7 of 12 gauge? Because you're just going to be reloading with 10-round mags.
I think if I was going to be in a situation like that, I would go with pump shotgun and the short slugs. So a lot of short slugs. So then the slugs aren't as powerful, but you've got a whole bunch of them. And I think a short slug would still be effective, right? Or am I?
Well, you got to make sure that the gun you have feed Mossberg just put out their new one, and it's S designation. It tells you that it works for short ones. Also, it's still a slug. It's still one freaking solid thing, on close distance. It can still go through a lot more stuff. My whole thing with shotguns is if you're inside the house, I think shotguns are effective. If you're outside the house, well, now you've just changed a bunch of things. You've changed distance. Now, I don't know anybody who has inside their homes more than 15 yards. I mean, awesome that you live in a palace. But once you get outside the home, now you have more distances open up. Now you also have legalities going into that has nothing to do with this conversation. But your buckshot pattern is opening up. Have you trained to switch over to slugs if you need to just launch a single projectile? Have you patterned that shotgun for slugs or sighted it in for slugs? A lot of things come in that I don't think you should only have a shotgun as your long gun. I think an AR is an amazing thing, especially when you go out that door.
You made a good point. Now that I've taken down the wall, you haven't been over in a while, but I took down the wall between the indoor swimming pool and the indoor tennis courts. And if I was standing on one side of the indoor swimming pool, that guy was on the other side of the indoor tennis courts, I would mess up all the marble and find gold furnishing if I started shooting shotguns in there.
Yeah, plus that golden bust of Richard Simmons that you have up would get wrecked.
Don't tell bad guys about that because there's no way I'm shooting towards that.
And it has a headband on. It has a sweatband on.
Hopefully everybody's thinking of like a Richie Rich comic right there.
Oh, dude, that is awesome. But yeah. So I like these discussions because it throws a lot of stuff out there and let people pick their own pros and cons.
Yeah. And the thing is, anybody can sit out here in the ranch and go, "Oh, an AR," and you know what I mean. It's not the same as somebody in Minnesota or somebody in Washington or Florida or Maine.
I mean, just the neighborhoods I've lived in New Jersey alone can effectively change the self-defense firearm because of the distance between the neighbors, distance between the houses, the way the place is set up. All of that can factor into what you use for home defense. Also, what can you actually practice with, afford to practice with?
Yeah.
I think that's very important. Now, I like shooting shotgun and really running clays. Shooting clays and shooting those kind of sports I think is one of the most effective ways to hit a moving target and get you to run your gun under a stressor outside of taking a class. And it's less expensive than taking a class. Unless you get bit by the bug and then you're looking at Benelli's. You went from shooting your, police trade-in for Remington 870. And we're at the club and just got bit by the bug. We actually had this conversation last night when I was shooting in the police league. Well, not police league, but I keep forgetting the name of it. Police combat competition. It's the old school police, training requirement. Back when everybody had revolvers, shoot 6, load 6, and then you go back to 25, you shoot the large target, and then they have a simulated 50-yard target you got to shoot too. So I shot
with a pistol or with a revolver?
Yeah, with a pistol, with a handgun, but they have it set up for 6 shots because it was doing that transition over from revolvers to semi-autos, so they left it fair for revolvers. So you only load 6 rounds into your magazine. It's the old police qual.
Well,
So
to
I
be
shot
fair,
that.
if it's a 9mm out of a 10-round magazine, only 6 are ever going to go off anyway. So it's realistic.
There you go. So that was fun last night. Because what I went to the range and zeroed my iron-sighted rifle at one range, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm like 15 minutes away from the other range. Let me go by and just see if they're competing, tonight. And I didn't even have my 22 pistol that I usually compete with. And the guys were like, hey, you shooting? And I was like, no, I don't have my handgun. I don't have my 22. Oh, you can use ours. So pretty much I got outfitted with a gun and a holster last night. And I shot in a competition with a gun I never even picked up before. I didn't do too badly, but I was 12 shots down, 12 rounds down. And I was using a red dot for only the second time. So those are all of my excuses why I didn't kick ass.
I went to, that makes me think of the time I went to Front Sight, I guess. We were up there, and you do a thing all week, and then blah, blah, blah. You do a qualification at the end.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever dumbass reason, I was shooting, I don't remember, probably Glock all week. And then at the last minute, I'm like, oh, I'm going to shoot my XD45 for the qualification.
Well, that's a whole different grip angle.
I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I was like, I better, if I'm good, then I can shoot this one as good as I can shoot the gun I've been shooting all week. Like if I'm good, it doesn't matter what I'm holding. And I did okay, but I didn't like max out or anything. But anyway, it was a dumb idea. I don't know what I was thinking.
It's funny because sometimes when you shoot well, you get full of yourself and overstep your abilities. It's like, no, I got
Well, no,
this.
I was shooting pretty good. I mean, I'm not a bad shooter or whatever, and I was shooting good at the time. After a week of shooting, like they're going to do good after a week. I mean, I wasn't farting around. I had nothing else to do. I was shooting all week. But I'm just saying, I think it was, I kind of wanted to give myself the challenge. And like I say, like, oh, if all these principles work, it shouldn't matter what I'm holding. Plus, I've always kind of gone back and forth. We talked about Masada Yu before. He's controversial in lots of ways. One of the ways that he's controversial, and this is literally a reason why some people do not like him or don't trust his advice, because of this. Because he's how do you say it? He's like nonchalant about what gun he carries. He's like, I shoot a lot of guns. I'm comfortable with all the guns I own. I'll pick up whatever gun I feel like that day or whatever I got the whim to carry. Or I'm not. He says something like that. And I mean, I've gone back and forth on that. Like sometimes I have to I don't understand that, and then other times I'm like, yeah, I get it, but I don't know if there is an answer to that. But anyway, I think I'm still, like I say, I've kind of never decided that, and I think it was part of that. And that's one of the reasons I am still kind of wavering on that, because if you train with one thing, you're going to be really good with it. But then you're not going to be good with everything. And how do you solve that? You got to train with everything. Well, that's impossible. So where do you draw the lines? Now it's a balancing act. And, that's something, if you're not training constantly, then it's tough. Like if you're only training once a month, then you kind of have to shoot with the same thing all the time. But, you don't have to, I guess, but it just, makes more, I think mathematically it makes more sense. But so I don't know.
I agree with what Ma says for him. It's not going to be everyone for the exact same reason you said. Look, the guy, he was a police firearms instructor with multiple agencies. And, listen to his stories from different things over the years. Plus, he's on Wilson Combat's channel, and he talks a lot on there about his own experiences. He had to shoot everything the department had. So he was shooting revolvers, he was shooting striker fired, he was shooting hammer fired, double action only. So he had all that time. Plus, he was teaching his classes for, I can't think of the real name of his institute before Mag 40, Mag 20, but he had the original name of his school. He was shooting there too on a weekly basis or multiple times a week.
LFI, Lethal Force Institute.
Yeah, I think that's it, Lethal Force Institute. He was doing all that. Most people don't do that. I shoot a hammer fired single action, double action, double action, single action, however you want to say it. Excuse me, double action, single action, 22. 1 week in competition and dry fired all week long. A week after that, I'm shooting my striker fired Glock. Plus, I go to the range almost on a weekly basis. And then I host diversity shoots where I shoot multiple handguns or types of handguns. And I still only concentrate on the one carry gun I have, because I don't think I have enough rounds down range to switch back and forth. But when we're at a range and I can pick up a gun, I don't do horribly with whatever I pick up. But that's not everyone. And I think a lot of people have a problem with Ma saying that, don't have his level of experience, or they feel he's giving advice that people who aren't at his level are going to take. And I can't put that on the instructor because he can talk about what works for him. You're not him.
Well, and when you think about a class, you got to think of, like you mentioned before, about the students, the classroom, the other peers, and that's incredible. That's one of the reasons I did so much training when I was first getting into doing this stuff, sharing stuff online. The classes themselves are awesome, and that's why I'd go back to the same instructor multiple times, because the class is always different. The interaction, the questions, and everything are always different. But the classes are different from instructor to instructor. We was bitching about people who, let's say, instructors who create a fan base, a following that's, I don't know what to call it, weird, like a really loyal following, but
almost like a club, yeah.
Right, and the people who go to those are typically people who, I don't want to talk shit. So those are a type of person. But then you go to a class from somebody who was like Delta Force or something, or somebody who had been there and done that. You're going to get a certain number of people that just want to go to and say that they've been there. They're collecting certificates. And then you're going to get people who are challenging themselves. And then you're going to get people who are either working or had been working and are looking for the information and want to, stay current and know what's up. So you get these different people, and the people that are seeking in the certificates, back in the day, they were software people and medical. There were a lot of doctors, people that could afford to casually spend, $600 on the class and then another $1,000 on ammo. The department people, that's all paid for, so they can do it anytime they want. And the people that are doing what, are actually working or whatever, typically get the class for free, and they're getting their ammo from someplace. So it's not such a big deal. And then there was no content creators back in the day, but, content creators, we would just bring our own shit. But essentially, that's different. When you get to a class where it's a bunch of people who've never shot before, that's a whole different class. You get to a class of people who want to do competition shooting, that's a different class. You go to a school for people that want to learn how to incorporate first aid into it, that's a different type of student. It's somebody who's more practical and not just in it for the interest or the occupation, but interested in applying it. Because some people take classes not to apply it, because they just want to have the information. You're allowed to just know stuff. You're allowed to go experience stuff that you have no intention of applying. But then there are classes where you're taking it because you want critical data. And again, these students are all different, and that's pretty interesting. You go to a class, like I imagine, I don't know, an instructor who's like well-rounded is going to teach you all about knife defense and how to draw and shoot, but then also how to apply a tourniquet. And then they're going to talk to you a bit about insurance and the practicalities of going to court. They're going to do like the whole shebang. That's going to have a different in class. Like, those people are going to be dedicated. They're going to be interesting people to hang out with. You go to a class where it's like, I'm going to tell you war stories and we're going to do some advanced ninja roll stuff, which don't exist. I'm totally exaggerating. Like, that isn't really, people think that is, but you get into essentially the braggers, the people that are like, come to my class and you'll meet me. There are a couple of people like that. Their classes are typically valid. I mean, nobody's teaching ninja rolls or nothing, but it's usually more of like, hey, come to the class, you get to meet me, you get to say you've met me, you can take your selfies with me. There are those people out there who are banking on their name or that they've done in the past, but the people that go to those classes are there to take selfies and to say they've been there. They're not really challenging themselves. So again, that is an interesting aspect of classes too. That you go to a class with a valid instructor, and the people you meet there are going to be people that you'll probably end up having. You're going to value those people, having met those people.
It is definitely a different type of people. Um, it is freaking weird, yo. Because I know why I'm there, but when you project what you are on the others and then somehow find yourself disappointed because they aren't, and it's like, well, no one claimed to be. That's just an assumption you made coming in the door. And that was with me. I went to a prominent, famous person, because it's not on them. The students they go to, the market they create, I don't think it's really on them. So I get out the vehicle. Now, again, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, but I don't act like I did it. I was a computer programmer in aviation. So there was no commando stuff for me. I qualified at the range once a year. And, that's it. I get out the vehicle and everybody else is dressed like they're a freaking contractor about to deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan. Like, I'm not just talking about camis that you buy at the Army Navy store. I'm talking about Cry Precision. Like, the cheapest rig they had was maybe one dude had like a Black Hawk something, but everybody else had top of the line, pull your favorite tactical Christmas gift card and buy it. And I'm looking like, well, that's not, I'm here to run an AR, as a citizen, as an armed civilian. I don't need my chest rig, even though I had my chest rig in the car. Mine has a plate in it. It's hot. It's summer. Guess how I ran my class? I ran that class with an AR mags in my back pocket, just like I would do at home, unless stuff went sideways. Real sideways. If I had to walk out of the door with my AR, I have a red dot, I have a flashlight, I have a sling. I don't know what people plan on walking into outside of that, but these guys had all the accoutrement. Their pants cost pretty much more than the upper on my rifle. And I just thought it was interesting because they were there to meet the freaking special forces dude who was teaching the class. I'm like, you're not going to impress him with that gear, right? And then the other funny thing is to see someone take a self-defense handgun class with their carry gun, and they show up with the leg rig, drop leg holster, and again, their whole I'm taking a class outfit, which includes the latest and the greatest. And look, if that's what you want to do, cool. But if that's not what you want to do, don't be intimidated by those type of people, and don't be turned off because they're in the class with you. You're there to learn.
I mean, you've probably seen this already with the diversity shoot, perhaps, and just by hanging out at some of the other meets you go to. But when somebody shows up to the scene, they don't know. Like they go to the store and they say, "Hook me up like a tactical operator," and then they hook up like a tactical operator, right? And then they go do their first couple of shoots, and one, they see that they're more extreme than everybody else. They're taking more than they're going further than anybody else is with their gear, and they check themselves there. Then they figure out, oh, this gear I bought is falling apart, or this gear I bought is too tight, or this gear I bought is the wrong color, or whatever. And they start to check themselves there. And, maybe 2-3 times. And then here's the problem. Well, okay, I was going to say, to finish that out, like 2-3 times later, they're totally different. And then by a year later, they're good to go. So everybody's got to start somewhere. And then I don't want to throw this out there. People will buy a bunch of kit and get screwed because they bought a bunch of kit and it cost them, their whole nut to buy all that stuff. And then they got to live with it for a while. And I definitely know people who bought garbage unknowingly. They thought they were doing the right thing. They bought garbage. They paid for it by living with it for enough time it took them to buy the deluxe shit. And now they're running deluxe shit. and they never look back because it's never worn out. It's worked for them, you know, and it's going to be there when they need it. And it took them a little while to save up for it and to decide exactly what they wanted. But they were running garbage, looking like a Yahoo until they made that decision or, you know, bought the stuff. So just throwing that out there. Sometimes you take a snapshot of somebody and it's not necessarily their whole spec, you know, it's like they're not their whole timeline. It's just where they were when you met them that time. And I want to give everybody the chance to grow out of their shit and to experiment. And then sometimes people are just being like, hey, look, I'm going to wear my redneck shit, or I'm going to wear my, and sometimes it's like, hey, let me wear all my 1980s stuff, like all my stuff that I thought was cool in the 80s. And there was a lot of nylon back then.
Oh my God. Remember the one piece pretty much flight suits? Those used to be a thing that everybody wore too.
I still have them for yard work. I like them. You know, jumpsuits or what? Flight suits, yeah.
Yeah, the flight suit. So my whole thing with it is this. Do you concentrate on you? Like when I got out, I thought it was funny though, because no one else had even a military background, but they had a paycheck that allowed them to buy the latest and the greatest PMC stuff. And I'm like, hey, good for you. One, I'm not intimidated. Two, that's cool, but you know, they don't make crop precision in my size. And even if they did, I couldn't afford it. But let them do them, because this is what they enjoy doing and this is how they enjoy doing it. I am not going to poo-poo these people. I just find it entertaining that I show up something like that. And I'm the only one that's been in the military. And I'm like, I am not putting all that crap on. Like I did it when they made us do it and go out in the field. And, you know, you had to get, you know, telling my age here, you had to go to ground supply and get all the 782 gear. And like, it's your responsibility for the entire time you're there. And always something turns up missing and you have to pay out of your pocket to go to the Army Navy store and buy it out in town and to replace it. Having all that crap just is not that impressive, because the military takes all the fun out of all that. So as an armed citizen now, I got some of the stuff because I'm teaching those classes. So I had to have the gear. I had to be able to run the gear. But if I wasn't, I wouldn't own that stuff. And I don't look for opportunities to strap it on.
Flipping gears. Wood says, what about the shockwaves? I'm not going to grab that so easily. So a shockwave is essentially a shotgun that no, it's not. It's a firearm that they made using a shotgun receiver, but they put a pistol grip on it, so it has no stock, and I don't think you can even put one on it. And then it has the standard magazine tube, so usually 3 to 4 rounds, and then a barrel that pretty much ends at the end of the magazine tube, so it looks freaking wicked, and it becomes a firearm because by definition it isn't this, it isn't this, and it isn't this, so therefore it's a firearm, but it's not any of these other things, so it can exist, and you don't need a tax stamp. So one, everyone should own shockwaves. I wish I owned one. I never bought one, and I don't have any money, so I haven't been able to buy guns or nothing, but when I was buying guns, they didn't exist yet. But yeah, everyone should own one for the fact that they're going to help kill the NFA. We had a big up in do because of the fucking braces, right? And because of, 80%ers, I guess, is kind of the NFA, but not really. But the braces and the whole short barrel rifles are not. Well, shockwaves is a whole nother level. That's like a depth charge. So can't wait to see a challenge to them trying to fuck with those. So I like them as guns because of where I think of them as a wedge into the NFA, but because they comply with the stupidly written law that shouldn't exist. So they're an example of why the law should not exist, because they've existed for so long and they're essentially a sawed-off shotgun. It's like if you asked any normal person on the street, what is this? They're going to go, oh, it's a sawed-off shotgun, right? Because that's essentially what it would look like to a regular person on the street who doesn't understand the dumbass international or the federal level law. But as far as being effective, I don't know. So what's your opinion? I've just described them and where they fit, but I haven't given my opinion on them. What do you think of them? Is it tactically like a machine? Like, are they a good shotgun?
They have a niche. I really think they have a niche as a self-defense tool. I think you had to put a lot of work in using one of those, a lot more work than just getting a shotgun with a fixed stock and 18-inch barrel. Like, there's easier ways to get a self-defense firearm, and I don't think that shockwave fits in it. You can put a brace on the shockwave. Now, if you're doing that, if you have those multiple points of contact, yeah, okay, shockwave's great. Shockwave's great because now it's a sawed-off shotgun.
It's not. It's a firearm with a pistol brace on it, but I hear you. But yeah. No,
excuse me. It fills the role of a sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah, no, that's where I would put it too. So I would say a 20-gauge shockwave. I'm going to say it's semi-auto. Remington 1100. It's 20 gauge.
With the brace.
Yeah.
With
the wicked folding brace. Wicked folding brace, though. It has to be a wicked, and it has to be a folding brace.
But truthfully, that serves that role, and I think is very effective. Just with the bird's head grip, I find it difficult to ever recommend that for that.
Yeah, exactly. They're not that hard to shoot if you're a big dude or like a big person with huge arms. Then yeah, fine, great. They're just like a tourist judge essentially. But everybody else, no. And it's not because of the recoil. It's just because it's a big obnoxious thing with all the weight in front of it, and you only got a pistol grip to hold on to.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
difficult to hold on to.
Other things work better in a space.
Turn it into a Serbu. So the Miami Vice tub shotgun.
Tub shotgun.
3 shots, I guess. One
3
in
shots.
the two. I know people that have them, so I've shot those a lot, and it's like, I imagine it's like, you know what it's like to me? It would be like if you had one of those little tiny miniature crotch rocket motorcycles, but it could go like real street speeds. That's what it's like. It's like, you're holding a shotgun, but your hand is so close to the front there, it freaks me out every time I shoot it. So they look cool on paper, they look kind of neat, but to me, shooting them is, I might get like it's like, I don't know, it's just too, I don't like shooting them personally. With 2 hands, I guess I should say. Shooting them one hand is no big deal.
Yeah, there's certain things that are just if it's not a bad idea, everything in your body's going, this is really not a good idea.
Yeah, it's never been dangerous. It just feels like all I got to do is do one thing wrong with my left hand, and I don't have a left hand anymore. So I don't like, because of that, it just freaks me out. So I don't, it's not like I shoot it that often. We just go bang, bang, bang. And then we put it away. So it's just like shooting a little NAA pistol, revolver. They're neat, and then they're done. Okay, I've shot it. I'll put it away again.
Yeah, no one's busting out that NAA revolver for more than 2 cylinders.
Yeah, and don't. We my first one was a 22 Magnum, and it was like a long time ago, and I would bring it with every time we went shooting, and I went shooting a lot, and then somebody'd go, "Oh, let me shoot it. Oh, let me shoot it," and I let everybody shoot it, and then we also would train a lot, and we would use it as like a backup, so we would pull it and shoot it, and it eventually beat the crap out of it. So they do have a lifespan that's shorter than a regular gun. They are little, give them a break, and you can send it back and get it retimed and everything. But if you're only going to intend to buy one, don't wail on it. It's got a longer lifespan than a Zamek gun, but it is tiny. So, and it'll kind of go out of tune on you with too much abuse. And I also carried it every day. But do you want to hit these other? We got real questions coming in again. Want to take it to 2 hours since we're already 3/4 of the way to that?
Sure.
You're driving again. It's not any road. You don't have to really mute. It doesn't seem like it was just weird at the time. But anyway, so I don't know what this is supposed to say. What criminal crimes can cause you to not obtain a concealed carry license? I guess it depends on your state, but essentially the same crimes that would prevent you from a 4473, probably, right? Like the normal stuff like felon and stuff that would let you not own a gun, in other words.
And also domestic abuse, domestic violence charges. That's another thing. Even though the Lautenberg bill did turn that into a felony, so never mind. Yeah, exactly. The same things will stop you from being able to purchase a handgun legally, firearm legally is the same thing that will stop you from getting a carry permit. So convicted of felonies or being mentally unfit.
Oh, I forgot the mentally one. And I don't know, when you get the military, since we're on Veterans Day, you get military, being dishonorably discharged. So I don't think you can do anything about some of these, but some of them, like the felony stuff, there are, I don't want to say often because I don't know, but there are things that can be done depending on your circumstances.
Yep.
That you can change that or whatever.
Yeah, you can.
But essentially, if they look at you and they go, okay, you did something dumb when you were young and you've lived this whole life of not being a dumbass, then let's go ahead and let you have your rights back.
One of them is actually right now trying to get taken by the Supreme Court. And it was a guy who was convicted on a non-violent felony and never spent any time in jail. It was a felony because it was financial. Like he didn't claim something, $500 cash, when he was applying for something. And it was actually a felony. And he's trying to get his rights back. It's one of the courts going to Supreme Court right now. But the one they're concentrating on is the guy that was arrested on domestic violence charges. He was restrained. That's the one that Justice Department wants to push because it makes us look bad and support that guy having his firearms because he had a restraining order against him. He was never convicted of that, but he had a restraining order for domestic violence.
Well, they're also making it, is when they're going to frame it, they're going to frame it like gun people want this guy to go free, when in reality, this guy's got like 14 charges, and one of the charges is unconstitutional. And we're like, excuse me, this charge shouldn't exist because it's unconstitutional. Go ahead and proceed with the other 13 charges that are fine for this guy who's a criminal. But they're not going to frame it that way.
Not in the least bit. So that's what's going on with that. And that's the link I came up with between the question and what I'm saying.
So it's saying I had a case when I was 18, no felony, no jail. So it sounds pretty good. I don't know. There's, probably it's, what would you do? You're an instructor. If you're in question of whether or not you can own a gun, you're really not allowed to go to an FFL and say a gun shop who's a licensed gun shop, an FFL, and say, run a background check on me. They don't do that. You have to be buying a gun in order to do that. So you have to potentially go buy a gun, and then they run the background check, and you find out, I guess, if there's an issue or not. But if you're attempting to get a CCW, you just have to take the class and then go through the application and then find out from the state whether or not they approve it.
I guess so. I mean, you're going to have to go through somebody. And listen, I totally understand where you're coming from. That you were arrested. It's a non-felony. But now, how do you figure out whether or not, because I don't want to buy a gun because it's breaking the law. Like if I'm trying to purchase a gun and I know I, have an arrest record, crap. I don't know. I'll go ahead and put it out there. That's one of the reasons, and I'm not doing a commercial for it, but that's one of the reasons I became a U.S. Law Shield sponsor, was because you have access to a lawyer with that legal fee. Even the minimum you pay for that, you can actually call a lawyer who specializes in firearms-related questions, because it's better than asking it on a podcast to somebody that's not a lawyer and I can give you just bad advice, or asking online just to anybody pop up and just tell you anything. That's one of the advantages of having a service like that, because you already pay for it.
Right on. So I'm glad we could answer a question. Hopefully everything goes smooth. You get your CCW.
Okay.
There's another question, but I'm going to ask you a question first. You ever ate these popcorners before?
What is that?
That's it's like essentially it's a Dorito made out of popcorn.
Nope. Haven't had that.
So this thing is like a rice cake, except made out of popcorn, like a popcorn ball smushed into a Dorito with Dorito cheese shit on it. So it's really interesting to eat. Anyway, I just got a bag of them and I'd never ate them before.
They sound actually good.
I mean, they taste kind of fake, but they're a lot like I don't really like Doritos, but I'll eat a Dorito. I don't have a problem. They just taste so greasy. I don't really like them. Compared to, like, I live in Arizona, I can go get regular chips anywhere I want that are like
Oh yeah.
late who just made them. So I'm not going to eat a Dorito if I can help it. But these things kind of give you the Dorito feel, but you feel like you're eating popcorn, and there's no after like greasy taste. That's what I kind of dig about them. And they're definitely not good for you. I mean, they're super salty and they're probably got fat in them. They're a chip, but anyway. So Joe Wolf is saying, "What's your opinion of the Saber 15 from Palmetto State?"
All right, this is one of my pet peeves about PSA. PSA made good guns. PSA have made a good guns for a long time. It was just they were advertised as a budget brand. Now, this is coming from me, who's ran PSAs for years. They were good. I would buy my upper, I would buy a strip lower, and I would build a gun with the components I wanted. So to me, that makes a good build because it gave me a base rifle without breaking the bank. Saber is just making it easy in a one-stop shop that you can get these high-end components. But if I don't want a hyperfire trigger, why would I pay that money for it? Cool. If you want a one-stop shop to buy a gun with good components, I say go for the Saber 15 or any of that because it has good components. It's a good gun. But I built mine from the ground up, and I saved a bunch of money because I'm tactically thrifty. Another word for that is cheap, but tactically thrifty sounds a lot better. So you can build a Saber 15 with your base PSA. But if you just want to get everything all in one shot and have it warranted by PSA, Saber 15 is the way to go. I think what really annoys me about it is the number of YouTubers, and all of a sudden they're saying Saber 15s are good because PSA gave them one. Well, they could have done what I was doing the whole time. Like I have a stock PSA that's all PSA, and then I have guns I've built up with, upgraded bolt carrier group, upgraded trigger from like was ALG with the ACT triggers in it. I built my rifles up because it was a lot cheaper when you buy everything on sale. But PSA always made a good base rifle. Saber is just a one-stop shop, higher-end rifle. I think it's the best bang for the buck out there. I'm just annoyed with YouTubers and gun tubers that will take a check and say anything is good.
I don't know if I bought a PSA. I don't think I own any lowers or anything from them, but I might own like a barrel or something or an upper, but I don't remember. And then I would have to not have traded it or ditched it or something or sold it.
Actually, I shot a PSA today in the competition. A PSA disappeared. Purchased the upper for like $220 without a bolt carrier group. Called the bolt carrier group on sale at a great price. This nickel boron and all the other super materials that people were talking about like 7-8 years ago. That made it just really slick and easy to clean. Picked up a Geisley airborne charging handle. Again, caught it on sale. So I put together a really decent rifle that I think I might have won a category in today. And it's PSA upper, PSA lower, PSA barrel, PSA handguard. Yeah, the only thing is PSA trigger. And I actually purchased one of those and put it in another firearm. So I think it's a good bang for the buck. I think the only frustration that you hear in my voice is because of the way that most people heard about it was through YouTubers, because I think PSA changed their marketing strategy and started courting content creators more. And to me, a lot of those people are just mercenary. I look at it when you're asking me a question that you're going to actually listen to me and follow my advice, and this could be stuff that you use to defend yourself and your family. So I take that seriously. And you're not going to cut me a check or give me a free gun and make me give you bad advice.
I don't disagree. I just was sitting here eating these pop chip things, and they're popcorners, I guess. And they're a little tangy, but they're super salty. So I'm just sitting here trying to gather my ability to talk again. So Wood said, try pop chips. And I looked at them, and I don't know if I ate them all already, but sometimes you get like a puffed rice thing or a puffed corn thing, and it's fluffy, and then sometimes it's like a Frito, and some of these are thinner than others, and the puffy ones are puffy like a fat Cheeto, and some of them are thinner and they're crunchier like the fried Cheeto or whatever the other kind of Cheeto is. What's the difference between them? Two different
Okay.
But anyway, so I'm wondering if the chips are similar, if they vary in thickness, so some of them are more airy than others, or if they're all thinner. Because I'm wondering, they're different shape, but they also could make them a little less like an. Some of these, they're different thicknesses. So the ones that are puffier are almost like eating a little triangle rice cake, but instead of being a gross rice cake, they're made out of like popcorn, so they taste better. And then they got cheese sauce all over them. But anyway, I guess we're talking about snacks too long here. I actually only bought these because they were in front of me, and they were, I think, 10 cents a bag, and they're like normally $1 a bag. So, like, yes, and they didn't expire till December. So I'm like, I will eat junk food for pennies on the dollar. You can force me to do that. But I wasn't like seeking them out. It just happened to be in front of me, and I'm cheap. I think we should end it. We're just about at 2 hours. Tony's still driving, so thanks for jumping in, and hopefully you had a good birthday. Did you do any other Marine stuff? I know you people have to like get together and slam eagles or eagle globe and anchors onto each other or whatever you do.
I never have done that. I've never gone out drinking on Marine Corps birthdays. Just don't see it as a thing. No, I did. I mean, I shot in a competition Friday night. That was my Marine thing. I felt that I had to do that. Zero to rifle. But no, I didn't do any of the Marine Corps thing. I'm going to wish everybody happy birthday and put my obligatory boot camp picture up on my social media.
I've seen that, and I know that as much shit as we give them, the Marines, I don't even want to think, like, there's very few Marines. They don't say the few, the proud, because they got nothing else to do. Like, there's just not as many Marines as there are everybody else, and that's because they literally sign up. Some of them got enlisted, I guess, or drafted, but that was a long time ago. Can you get drafted in the Marines?
I don't think the Marine Corps actually drafted in.
I was going to say, you could probably get drafted into the Army, and then people were like, fuck it, I'm going to the Marines. But anyway, people enlist to go take a bullet, to eat a bullet. There's nothing in the Marines that you get to hide behind nothing. So you don't know when you're going in, what you're doing. So literally every one of them is signing up to say thank you, but, goodbye. And that takes a shit ton of different grit than what it takes anybody else. So they understand, because there's been so few of them, they understand the value of those that gave the ultimate, and they have a camaraderie and esprit de corps that very few other units can appreciate, let alone people that don't, put themselves into a position like that. So it's totally understandable. We give them shit, but that's because they can take it, and otherwise their fucking big heads would make them unreasonable.
100% true.
Totally understandable that y'all get together and support each other, and it's as much it's a brotherhood, literally.
Yep. It's a brotherhood, it's a cult, it's however you want to put it, but it's 100% right. And thank you, I appreciate that. But thank you to all the vets out there. I made a post today talking about being a veteran and swearing to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And one of the things I said was, our job's not done. We should still be fighting for freedom against people that want to take our rights away. It's not over. When you swore to protect the Constitution, it didn't come with an expiration date. It didn't mean when you EAS'd out, when you got out, that it was over. And at least that's the way I see it. So that's why I still worked, as a volunteer with the election process, as an election worker. That's why I do what I do with the Second Amendment. I really think it's important that we, as American citizens, now that we're out, still work towards maintaining those freedoms. But that's just the way everybody else has to think. That's where I come from. When you see
You stand up, you say that. It doesn't say anywhere in there like until, there's no maybe death and something, but you just quit getting paid to do it.
That's all. That's all. I'm not getting a check from the Department of the Navy anymore.
Oh, that's got to hurt. You got a check from the Navy? You got paid by the Navy? I didn't ever realize that. I wonder what the Space Force gets paid by.
Some people take it. Velvet Martian? I don't know.
Elon.
Elon Starbucks. Somebody needs to give him some new pants. Have you seen their dress uniform?
No, I don't even. I've seen the K-bar knives. I don't think I've seen maybe a picture where they got like somebody standing, with the flag because they're real, I guess. But I've never. Maybe I have. Did they look something like Star Trek almost with like?
Yeah, they got the blouse, a little Star Trekky Deep Space Nine, but they just couldn't figure out the freaking pants, and it just looks horrible.
And it's like a gray color or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if I was looking at like demo shots or like whatever they call like the artist's renderings, or if I remember seeing. I guess I could.
I'm 100% serious with this. Now this has nothing to do with anything except why didn't they have at this stage? You're coming up with a new branch of the military, and you're coming up with new uniforms. Why not go to fashion designers and have them come up with something timeless? I mean, you get the new board. You don't have to go what anybody else is doing. You're Space Force. Like, it looked like they just had...
It's the Eisenhower jacket where the waist is higher than the arms. Looks so goofy. It looks like an old-timey like vaudeville act or something, and then that chick wearing them. Yeah, like... Exactly like, what size are you? I think you're this size.
You mean the boot camp sizes when you just did that line and they look at you and go, here?
Yeah, you look like you're this. Wait a minute.
Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous.
No, it is pretty bad. Anytime you get that, they literally, they're making pictures of them next to the Star Wars uniforms, and they're way too similar. I don't know what they're thinking.
Oh, it's horrible.
Now their multicam one looks normal. It looks like it's pretty much the same thing as everybody else's.
Where the heck are they getting? Why would they? Okay, cool. Why would they have multicam?
Because of the moon. The moon's probably perfect. The multicam is pretty good. What if they? It's like Stargate. They go up there and half the planets are very much like a forest of Earth.
Okay. Yeah.
The mountains around California.
Oh, you mean if they're on an away team?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. They do have an angled pocket, which looks pretty cool. Plus, also looks stupid. Like you could never roll over because you'd break everything in it.
Hey, listen, man. I thank you for all that served, man. I really appreciate that you made that dedication, man. Because I think it's less than 2%.
Well, it's weird too. I mean, it's definitely, we had a global war on terror for 20 years, so there was some incentive and some things to do. But then a lot of the veterans are old like us, where it was way before the peacetime, the post-Cold War peacetime, and that was it was a weird time to volunteer because a lot of those people were volunteering to go to school, volunteering because of family tradition, or volunteering because they appreciate the fucking country they came here or they were born. Like a lot of those were first generation, still like spoke with a heavy accent, but they grew up here, but in a family that spoke both languages, so they still have an accent from just being first gen. And then like I had actually a bunch of dudes that I did stuff, went to training and stuff with that were in those. A lot of people are just going to college. But I would think mostly those three things. But nowadays, it's a whole different thing. You knew you were going to go do something potentially lethal or go places that you could I don't know, like the burn pits and the other things. There's just notorious things when there's chaos and in extreme conditions. You're going to have problems from health and long-term things like traumatic brain injuries and stuff that they're discovering. I'm sure there's all kinds of joint issues from people carrying stuff or having malnourishment in those environments that we're not used to, in the desert or whatever. So there's a lot of that people knew about, but they either didn't pay attention to it or decided to, whatever, grit and bear it or whatever, and sign up anyway. But there's been no draft. Like everybody who's been a veteran signed up for it. Nobody had to. Well, I think I did serve with people who were it was like go to jail or go into the Army. Did you have to deal with? I don't think they do that in the Marines ever.
No, they've given people choices like that. Not that many, but yeah, a few. Straighten out your life, join the military kind of thing. The judges gave some of the guys, and I find nothing wrong with that because usually,
that's what they needed half the time.
Yeah, I mean, it got you out of the environment you were in. That was number one because you weren't going to leave on your own. And number two, it gave you that regimented chance to actually start over. You can reinvent yourself. So you don't have to be that if you choose not to be that. You don't have to go back to it. And I think it gave a lot of people that opportunity. When you join something like the military, you can reinvent yourself. You don't have to be so-and-so's kid anymore. You're you.
If you never were somebody's kid, like that's also right. You could have a family.
Yep. My whole thing is this: everybody started pretty much off a whole new sheet. Only the few people whose parents or somebody is in the military and are a big deal or in that branch, those are the only people that were like, it's just me, you, bro. But there ain't many Chester Puller Juniors. His name was Chester Puller.
It was difficult for me because I performed so well, and I was such top of my classes all the time that everyone was so jealous of me. It was really difficult for me.
Totally understand George Patton. But yeah, not me. Actually, I was at the top. Whatever. I was a computer programmer.
I was the second at the top of a easy class one time. But it isn't hard. The Army has made it a 6th grade level, they always said. So, I mean, you basically didn't have, as long as you didn't fall asleep plenty of times, you could pass just about everything. Because they'd spend like a week teaching you how to throw a grenade or a week spending how to do a claymore or something. It's only like 4 moving parts. Like, we get it. And then like a day or two fiddling with it. It's like, yeah, we understand.
Yeah, it is funny. If you're a good student, if you have the right mentality, you can excel in the military up to a point. I mean, then you start playing politics, all the other crap. But yeah, I did really well going in school. I was 17. I just graduated. I had an advantage when I actually had to go head to head against people that were in their 20s in the same school I was in. I kicked their butts because I've been out of school 8 years. I got out of school that summer. They had to learn to study again.
Why don't we start wrapping up then?
Yep.
All right. Next one coming up on the 30th.
Yep, November 30th, Diversity Shoot. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to also post the December 14th Diversity Shoot. These are the last two for the year. November 30th at Gun for Hire Range in Woodland Park, and December 14th at Recoil Range in Monroe, New Jersey. So
this one's on a Sunday.
Nope. The 30th should better be on a Thursday.
No, I'm saying the one tomorrow you're saying you're doing?
No.
Oh.
14th of December. I'm releasing. Yeah, I've made the video and I'm releasing it tomorrow, and I'm posting those tickets up for sale on Eventbrite for those that follow me on Eventbrite. You'll get the email. These are the last ones of the year, and I'm going to start writing a schedule for New Jersey for next year, and hopefully I can get it approved sooner than later. We can update my website and get that going.
Yeah, anytime. Let me know. I've been sitting over here doing stuff, but I still have the keys, so anytime you need, let me know.
Yep. Post new pictures. I'll come up with a whole envelope and shoot you that. But looking forward to these last two events on the SHOT Show. So if you guys, and because we got that brace ruling, I may have a giveaway that has something to do with that to help raise funds for the trip out to Vegas. And again, I'll throw it out there because I can. Ammo Lab is our ammo sponsor. Check them out, and if they're cheaper than other ammo providers, and you have a choice between picking from them and somebody that doesn't support the work I do, why don't you pick them for me? Again, they never asked me to do any of it or even advertise for it, but I feel that why not? They're helping me out. I can help them out just by telling you to look at them, and if they're cheaper, or you can save a little bit, or they're slightly more expensive but not enough to make a difference, buy from them, please. Support them. DiversityShoot.com is where you can find my schedule, and you can donate if you'd like to. I've got PayPal on there, and also we do Venmo and Cash App. If you want to find out or how to do that, hit me up, DM me, Tony at diversityshoot.com, or on my Instagram at Simon Says Train, Facebook Simon Says Train. Also, the second is for everyone on Facebook. I think that's all the hits. Oh, and I have a new podcast dropping pretty much over the Sunday. Episode 98 of the Second is for Everyone podcast.
Right on. And it's probably a good time of year to let people know about the PayPal and stuff, because if they're doing their tax stuff, they're looking for people to support. They're trying to spend a bunch of money or something on holiday stuff.
True.
We agree.
Help us fight that fight, baby, especially in Jersey.
So we'll probably go live tomorrow and do a knife show in the morning. And let's see. In addition to what we got going on, let's talk about Brooke. Jeannie will have Suicide Prevention Saturday. I was finally able to link to it. So we're linked to it. It'll recommend that show after this show. I put a link to it a little earlier. So truly the most, I'm going to keep saying it, I think it is the most effective work being done for the Second Amendment right now is what Brooks doing. Again for a second, all right? Just got a lot of background noise. I'm just going to mute it for a second. So we've got 107,000 fentanyl deaths. We've got something like, I think the CDC says 500,000 deaths from tobacco. So it's probably counting, all kinds of lung disease things. But then 100,000 deaths from alcohol. And that's the alcohol and tobacco part of the ATF. And then that 107,000 overdoses from fentanyl is just the overdoses. That's not all the other people affected by being addicted to that drug. And then there's 40,000 deaths from a firearm. Now, aside from their audacity, their suggestion that that's a crisis, a health crisis in the country, when they ignore those other issues that exist, they take that 40,000 number on a big year. It's 40,000. It's often less than that number. But of that, 30,000 are suicide. So they stand on the graves of all those suicides and suggest that guns are the cause. Guns are the only culprit. By removing guns, those suicides wouldn't exist. We know that that's bullshit. But how do we get that across to the people in the middle who hear that guns are a health crisis? Well, Brooke every Saturday has a show called Suicide Prevention Saturday, which focuses on mental health awareness and the prevention of suicide. So one, it helps people. It helps us to understand and to provide resource to be able to have useful conversations about these topics and to further the cause so that we can hopefully help people and then hopefully bring those numbers down. And then hopefully get those people who are against us because of the numbers to realize that we do, in fact, care about the people and that we're doing something that's, to change these numbers and not just to protect our property or our rights, but because we have an interest in helping these people. So there's nothing else out there. None of the national level organizations that bring anywhere from dozens to hundreds of millions of dollars a year in donations and fund numerous projects and activities. 0 of them are focused on suicide prevention, normalizing mental health, removing barriers to us having conversations about mental health issues the same way we would about a broken arm or a poked out eye or something. So we can casually talk about most health issues, but for some reason in society we don't talk about mental health. Well, Brooke offers a show that normalizes that and gives us the tools and resources to have these conversations to help further that point. And again, I don't think there's anything out there that's being done on such a consistent level with such a focus that could be so influential. So I don't want to chat it up too much, but that's Suicide Prevention Saturday. You got the chance to watch that live, to support the show by joining in and watching it, by supporting the show by taking links and posting it all over the internet, not just on YouTube. YouTube is useful because YouTube viewers are going to see it and they have the most likely to watch it. But by posting it on other platforms that you enjoy, you're cross-pollinating, you're putting reciprocal links out there that will help spread the word about her project and Brooke's channel. And that's the way that, for free, as a capitalist, the least amount of effort, you can help a project that's of such value. So I spend time on that because it's of such value. Also, Foss, our friend from Washington State, hosts an evening show for the people that are up in the middle of the night. On every other week, he calls it the Mouse Party. It used to be on Wednesdays, and it'll probably go back to Wednesdays at some point. But it'll happen tonight at midnight. No, it isn't. It is at 2 a.m. Eastern. So 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific. So essentially in the middle of the night, kind of happens while the country is going from into midnight. And it's there's no topic. It's just a bunch of people that get together. It's an open panel discussion. So if you're interested in guns and whatnot, check it out. 2 worthwhile things. We'll be linking to the Suicide Prevention Saturday that happens in a few hours. And then I guess I said like tomorrow we'll do a knife show in the morning probably. Let's see. Woods is saying, is the 2A4E project or podcast on YouTube? And I don't think it is, right? You put that straight out to podcast? Oh, I muted Tony. Hold on. Now you're back.
All right, thanks. I'm driving. No, it's not on there anymore because I don't have my laptop, and the way what's the thing that Anchor was set up, I'd have to put it on my hard drive and then take it from my hard drive and load it up to YouTube with the another app called Stitcher. So I don't have it up there right now, no. But you can find it on, Apple. What is Apple's called?
Well, it used to be called. Oh man, what was it? They changed it. I think it's just in the store.
iTunes, yeah. I'm on iTunes, I think, or Google Play and Spotify. So I'm doing that. So I'm available on those things, and it's up to episode 97 online right now. Episode 98 is getting done. I have a couple of more segments to do, and also have to talk about the pistol break that just happened. So, talk about our wins and our losses with the legislation. But again, that's like 10 or 15 minutes tops, because I break my things down to segments, and I kind of like the format we set up, and so with others. It's just a consistency. Plus, I have interviews on this podcast too. I have interviews that I did at Train and Learn during the summer.
Right on. Well, I don't know how far you are from home still, but keep driving or drive safe as you get there. And
Yep.
We'll be back next weekend with Clover, unless he's out traveling. He's traveling the world now, so if we can pin him down, we'll get him back. Otherwise, if you've got questions, we did miss a bunch of them over there. Thanks to Woods and others who asked questions. If you go to askunquestions.com, we'll answer them eventually. So thanks again. See ya. So let me put a commercial out there before I just end it raw.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.